I'm aware of my addictive personality, almost too aware, and when I knew I was going to be moving out, I allowed myself to spend literal thousands on games. Mostly used, and for insane deals, because I knew I'd be broke the second rent and other bills came into play. I regret nothing, but after years of collecting and that major influx of stuff, I realized I have quantity over quality. Space on shelves becomes a huge issue when I only have 4 shelves, and then I moved and I bought 2 more, and even then, that's still not enough. There's just a lot of storage bins in my cat's bathroom / the laundry room, and there are probably way too many other boxes at my parents' house in my old closet. So it's just not really cute to not be able to actually access the games that I want, because I bought these games not just to play, but to care about them, and to look at them, and just experience the art. That's a big part of why I like owning physical things. A lot of times nowadays, I try not to buy old stuff too much. I've kind of been playing through what I have. That's a big reason why I started the channel, was to get through the backlog, and to give the time of day to all of these games that I bought and then never did anything with them for who knows how long. So now I really only buy like new games. You're actually going to see one a little bit later because I have a bit of a haul to do with the stuff I'm going to be looking at and selling in this video. So when I first moved, I actually sold like doubles of my consoles I had, or different versions of the consoles, like the PS3. I had a Slim and then I had 2 Super Slims. I didn't need both. I ended up selling the black one I had so that I could keep my white one. Stuff like that. Nowadays, I kind of don't really have any expendable income, and that means I need to trade stuff in order to get stuff I want. A lot of times, I will admit, my new game stuff comes from GameStop or Walmart, but even then, I try to wait on buying new stuff, but, you know, that doesn't go that well. So, like I said, I have a bit of a recent haul to show at the end of the video, but I challenged myself and friend of the channel, Amanda, to sell off some stuff for an upcoming trip. We're actually going to Mall of America and a couple other places, so you'll probably be seeing a lot of shorts of video game stores I went to, or just GameStops I went to and found some cool stuff in the next coming weeks. So I have 8 games I pulled off the shelves that I was not giving too much attention to, or games I just didn't feel like I was going to need to want to keep, or games I already played, or whatever. So I'm going to give you impressions of these 8 games, and she has 2 games that she's going to give you impressions of. So altogether, I sold 10 games to a game store, plus some other stuff, and that haul at the end is stuff that I got with some of the trade, and some of the money is going toward the trip. Alright, starting with the very first game, it is Alien vs. Predator on PS3 from 2010. I actually talked about this game before. I don't remember what video, but I'm sure I'll input it up above. Alien vs. Predator is a first-person shooter. It's by Rebellion Developments. They've been around since 1992. They actually made Alien vs. Predator on Jaguar in 1994, and then they made that little-known Judge Dredd PS2 game that I actually quite like. Fun fact, they're actually on this list 3 times, so I don't know, it's showing that I'm not really into shooters anymore, but we'll get to why. So this game is broken up into 3 different parts. There's Predator missions, which are very stealthy and action-oriented, but you can do that invisible thing the Predators do. There are the Alien missions, where it's stealthy, but you also have really crazy movement speed. And then there are the Marine missions, which are very boom-boom. I quite like all of the missions. I actually think this game is really good. It's probably one of the better Alien games besides Alien Isolation that we've ever gotten. I do have some issues with it though. Like, I think that the button mapping is just a little bit dated now. A lot of PS3 games, besides like Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, really set the standard for what shooters were going to be like in the future. But the movement speed makes me very ill. So I have a hard time with first-person shooters nowadays. I actually was playing with my cousin recently for Left 4 Dead because it went on sale on Steam for like 99 cents. And I was sick as a dog. Like, I have not felt that motion sick in a very long time since playing that. And so when I was getting some of the footage for a lot of these shooters, I was also just really struggling. So if any of you are very motion sick prone, first of all, you should get Dramamine and take it like an hour beforehand, because if you take it right as it's happening, it's not going to work for you. Learn that the hard way. But also, I didn't believe this until college when Bestie Joss, who has been on the channel before, told me that if you sniff peppermint or drink peppermint, it is like a lifesaver. So, big tip. Drink some peppermint schnapps. Or tea, whatever. I gotta say, too, the graphics and textures are actually really good looking. So 80% of the game is just like really, really dark. So you've either got to turn up your brightness in the game or turn up your TV brightness. The area variety is also really, really good. I feel like it looks very true to not just the AVP franchise. I know that those movies are kind of iffy for a lot of people, but it's also just very true to the Predator jungles and the alien little ships and trenches and things. It feels very cool. Like it's a really fun game. And I also got to shout out that they do have audio diaries. So you're also getting story, because a lot of the game, you know, you're either a predator or you're an alien, so there's not much talking going on. But there is a story, and it's actually pretty good. I kind of have always wanted to sell this game because it's not one that I feel like I really want to go back to very often. But the reason I don't is because I have really fond memories of being 10 or so, maybe 11, and sitting with my dad on the couch in our old apartment when I was a kid and just watching him play it. He never got very far because if it's not Call of Duty or Warhawk or Afterburner Climax, those were the games he was really into at the time, he probably wasn't going to be spending much time with anything outside of those. So I have memories of it and I like it, but it's just not a game I feel like I need to keep now. I kind of have a hard time selling games because I'm so connected to them emotionally, and you'll see why in some of the other games on this list, but the second one actually defies that logic. I bought this randomly because I just happened upon it and it was really cheap, but it's called Shell Shock 2 Blood Trails from 2009. This is another first-person shooter, and it's also by Rebellion Development. This is actually a Lost Eidos property. This is when they sold to Square around 2009. It's a sequel to the PS2, PS3, and Xbox game Shell Shock NAM 64 from 2004, which is in third person. Now, this game got really bad reviews. It's kind of known as one of those iffy, crappy games. I think that the story is actually somewhat interesting. It's very horror-coded, and sometimes people call it a survival horror. I don't think it is. There's too much ammo, there's too many weapon variety, and it's just not survival horror. It's like saying Resident Evil 5 is survival horror. Sorry, but it's not. So this is a zombie game. It's taking place in weird bases and jungles in the US. One of the things I did notice right away, though, is that the long load times are really dragged out. The PS3 had this problem pretty often. I think one example I can always think of off the top of my head is Bayonetta on PS3. There were literally load times that would take like 3 minutes nearly. Like, it was ridiculous. It was insane. As for the graphics, the textures are a little bit iffy. The shaky cam cutscenes drove me insane. I was like ready to die. And then there are hard-edged polygons. Like, everything's very rough looking. Obviously, you know, seeing this developer from 2009 to 2010, their quality and their budget was probably way higher up on AVP versus this. So I'm not blaming them. I think it's just very of the time. It's not like it looks like the worst game ever. It just isn't great. But I will say that the variety of levels is pretty good, pretty solid. There's a lot of very interesting areas to go through, and the zombies are very quick, but they are unarmed. So again, calling back to Resident Evil 5, they're not going to be shooting you in the head, which is goofy. I hate that about that specific zombie era of Resident Evil. And again, I just want to say it feels low budget, but it's not bad. It's just a little bit trite. With all that being said, I do kind of miss this era of simple shooters with low stakes. I'm just kind of moving on from shooters. I just don't really enjoy them like I used to. I think I enjoyed it a lot more when I was a kid, but nowadays I'd rather have a good story than almost any other kind of gameplay. Like, if this were Spec Ops The Line, then I'd keep it. That's how I'd sum that up. Alright, the third game here is pretty goofy. It's Hannah Montana, the movie for PS3. So this released 3 days before the movie in 2009. The developer was Nspace, which died in 2016, after a slew of iffy licensed games. The only slay they really had was Geist, that GameCube game. Have you ever heard of that? It's actually a pretty good game, but it's gone up in price. So I have fond memories about Hannah Montana. I grew up in the early 2000s, so I was very much all in. My dad took me to the movie, and he was probably the only man there, which was pretty sick of him. And he really liked the movie, and so did I. So I watched my cousin, actually, Danny, who's also been in a couple videos. I watched him play this on the Wii pretty often. He was really into going and pulling up to the shopping malls, dressing Miley up, and, doing the whole thing. So this is a rhythm game, but it's also like a fetch quest game. You do shows as Hannah Montana, and then in order to get to those shows, you have to do little quests that, like, your dad or brother or some random stinkies will ask you to do. And so you'll be going around the carnival and play mini games, or you need to fetch like an item for someone, or you gotta find like a certain clothing piece to wear for later on. This game has a surprisingly large map. Like, there's a lot going on in this game, and I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't expect anything of it. Plus, the music is actually licensed, but the voices are not, like, there's no Miley Cyrus, there's no Billy Ray Cyrus. None of them are the legit actors or actresses, but the music is real. And sometimes the music will have full-on lyrics, and then other times it's just, like, Butterfly Fly Away is just, a little, like, minor cutscene. It's just instrumental. This is another thing where the load times can be a little terrible, but they treat you to a movie scrapbook, which I actually kind of liked seeing because it's been so long since I've seen this movie. Now, with that being said, this game is like 2 hours long, so there's not much going on. You're probably going to be replaying the game or just spending a lot of time dressing up and then doing the shows. The shows are actually kind of fun. The controls are not very complicated. And yeah, it's whatever. It's exactly what you'd expect. So I don't need the game. I don't. Even for the meme, I just don't need it. Alright, so number 4 is Kingdom Under Fire, Circle of Doom from 2007. This was on the 360, and I actually played this game for a 360 video when the store was shutting down last year, and no one watched the video, which is okay. This is by Blue Side Developers. It's a South Korean studio who worked on the 2 Xbox titles and co-developed 99 Nights. That was a game that actually kind of gone up in price during the Xbox apocalypse. So the OG Xbox games are action real-time strategies. This one is a third-person hack and slash, so it's a very different experience. And I'm happy to say, actually, that I did end up selling this to a good friend, and he was really, really excited to get this game again, so that made me feel good. The main story of this game is like 9 hours, but a completionist can probably spend 40 to like 60 hours on this. There are lots of menus for spells, weapons, upgrades, etc. The enemy and character designs are fine. It feels a little bit derivative within the Lord of the Rings style. This game definitely wants to just be Lord of the Rings, like one of those PS2 games or even the Xbox 360 game. But I don't imagine they're as good, but I'm not really a Lord of the Rings girl, so. The frame rate dips a lot, and the animation isn't too flashy, but the grind of moving through narrow areas is appealing enough. The game kind of looks all the same. Like, there's a lot of the same 360 era browns and, like, I don't know, just tree, foresty areas, so the variety isn't too crazy, but I will say that the enemy designs are actually pretty interesting, and there's a lot of different types of them. So that's something fun, because they all play a little bit differently. I say that this game is fun in small doses, but it would be much better with co-op. Even though that doesn't exist for this game somehow, whether that be online or couch co-op. I don't understand why. 5th game here is Phantasy Star Universe from 2006. Sega's Sonic team put this together with Yuji Naka at the helm. This was also dropped on the PS2 and PC, and no version really did well, with servers dropping off in 2010, but 2012 for the 360. Now, before we get too far into it, I want to say that in recent times there have been major fan projects restoring servers and the graphics. They look really good, and if you're interested in that, it's called Phantasy Star Universe Clementine. So I would say that's the way to play this, but I actually did end up having a pretty good time with this game and actually thought about not even selling it because I was starting to be like, oh my gosh, what if I want to play it in the future? Because when I was playing out for this video, I probably played like 5 hours of it, and then I wasn't able to play more because, I mean, I had a lot of other games to play for this video, so whatever, but I was kind of fighting myself on whether or not I want to sell it, but I did end up doing it, so I was a big girl on that day. So regardless of the game, you know, being mostly for online play, it still has a single-player story that's like 25 hours, if not more. There is lots of reading dialogue and little to no voice acting. Character design is really 80s, 90s anime chic, which I have to say is a big compliment from me. And I also think it's kind of funny that there are like 40-minute dialogue sections, like you're just constantly talking to people between action. So if you're not into a lot of reading, you can't even really skip a good portion of it from what I saw, so that was kind of, you know, I could see that being a distraction for a lot of people. So when it does come to the gameplay, it's 3-party action RPG stuff. It's real time, and I kind of get annoyed by my movements being slowed down as they hit me. It's kind of a genre quirk though. The story is okay, but the world lore is pretty intense, and I also have to shout out how good the music and sound effects are. Plus, the area variety is unexpected. Like, it's lots of science fiction kind of places, almost Mass Effect-like, but I liked the variety of what they did with it. So it wasn't just all gray cyborg space stuff. It was like a desert kind of area, a city kind of hub, a night area. Like, there was just a lot of stuff going on. It was pretty cool. Alright, 6th game here is Zombie Army 4 Dead War from 2020 on the PS4. This is actually a spin-off of Sniper Elite, developed by Rebellion again, the Alien vs. Predator people. At least it's third person, right? This is a 9-hour experience, and it's ideal in multiplayer. You can play online or you can play split screen, and it's just a good game if you want to blow up some Nazi soldiers. Of course, you fight Hitler at the end, because why wouldn't you? Every time there's a World War II setting, even in Persona 2, you get to fight him, so, you know. There are tons of area varieties, really good textures, the game feel is pretty on point, and the weapon choices, all of that stuff, is actually very good. I would really suggest this game to the people who are very into shooters of any kind. The zombie hordes can be tough, but they're not overwhelming, with bosses being a good challenge. There are even lots of hidden items to find, and just a long campaign with a lot going on narratively. Again, I don't really care about this kind of gameplay anymore, but even more so, it was one of the last games that my ex-significant other bought me right before COVID happened, because this was supposed to be our, like, online game to play together, so because of that, it kind of sits on the shelf as, like, a bit of a sour memory, unfortunately, so I just am choosing to be brave and get rid of it. Number 7 is Captain Tsubasa Rise of New Champs from 2020 on the PS4. I made a video about this in my anime games that surprised me, I'll link it above. I liked the game a lot, and I don't want to go super into it because I spent like 15 minutes talking about it in that video. I liked the game, I just don't think I'm ever going to spend too much more time on it after I spent like 20 hours playing it before. This is developed by Tamsoft from 1992. They're the team who did Battle Arena Toshinden and Oni-chan-Bara and a bunch of those kind of like AA games. It's a mid to high budget Bandai Namco joint. The online mode and the story mode that's original for Tsubasa is really cool, and the new custom hero mode plus the DLC story gives you like 40 plus hours of gameplay time. Like, it is a very packed game for the price, especially because on the used market it is very, very inexpensive on both the PS4 and Switch. This is one of those games to pick up whether or not you know Tsubasa, because it does kind of introduce you to the characters really well and like at a good pace. If you like sports arcade titles, this is like a no-brainer. You really should get this because it plays with really, really fun mechanics, and there's just a lot going on that I feel like you'll be missing out on if you don't try to pick this up. Okay, so number 8 is a game I actually got from Goodwill. It does have a couple scratches on it, so it has a bit of lag, but that's fine because it can get resurfaced. It is Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi on the PS2 from 2005. It's actually called Dragon Ball Z Sparkling in Japan, which is why that newer Dragon Ball game is called Dragon Ball Sparkling something something. It's developed by Spike, who did a lot of PS2 era Dragon Ball stuff. I quite like Dragon Ball as a series. I really like the manga because it doesn't take me 200 episodes to get through. Still, I really respect Akira Toriyama's artwork, obviously. This game is so good for people who appreciate his art, and just even the Funimation voice cast is like voicing almost every single little line and menu of this game. I think this is really for diehard Dragon Ball people, and it plays pretty well and looks really good for being from 2005. This is another one on the list where I almost was like, do I really want to sell this? I don't know. But I did, because I don't think I'm going to end up playing it too much. I don't really play a lot of Dragon Ball games. The only one that I really got into was Dragon Ball FighterZ, because that was the era of me being into fighters. But regardless, it's about $20 complete in box if you buy it at a store, but since I got it from Goodwill, it was like $4. So there are tutorials, and the tutorials are actually written out, and you can't play them, you just watch them, which was kind of a weird choice, but regardless, when you're playing the game, I think that you really should start with a tutorial, because when you jump into either the Z Battlegate mode, or the Ultimate Battle mode, or World Tournament, or whatever, and I'll explain what those are in a second, you kind of are thrown in willy-nilly, so it's good to kind of figure out a little bit of what to do, because the controls can get a little awkward at the beginning. You get used to them, but they are kind of weird to like levitate and to lock on and then unlock on and all that stuff. So Z Battlegate is all of the anime battles recreated from Z, GT, and some of the early films. Apparently you can play as the bad guy too, and defeat heroes to really spin the Dragon Ball Z formula on its head. Ultimate Battle is a ranked fight mode. World Tournament is like an arcade mode. Dueling is for co-op. Evolution Z mode is having you use items to make new characters or give a player new abilities. So yeah, there's like tons of things you can do in this game, and it's just, again, it's just for those people that really like Dragon Ball. I don't necessarily know if you don't know anything about Dragon Ball if you'll like this. It's for the fans. So number 9 here is Curious George on the PS2 from 2006. It's released on the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox, and it's aptly developed by Monkey Bar Games. They only lasted from 2005 to 2014, but these are the same people who did Flushed Away, which is a game I've talked about and I actually really like. There's also a 2D Game Boy Advance version from Taurus Games. So this is not a game that I bought for myself. I bought this for Amanda. Since we're at number 9 and 10 of the games to sell, these are both hers. She's not really a platforming girly. She wanted to be, and she really wanted to play this because she really likes Curious George. But yeah, she just didn't get addicted to it, and she didn't really want to put the time in for this game, which I kind of understand, because it is a very simple, kind of generic game with like some floaty controls, and it just isn't, it isn't peak. Even though I can appreciate that they have really beautiful cutscenes that actually feature Will Ferrell being the man in the yellow hat. The rest of the game, he's not voiced by the same person, but because this is based on the 2006 film, they just straight up took cutscenes from it and put them in the game. Then all of the rest is like, randos voicing it. So that's kind of jarring. There's not a lot going on gameplay-wise, as I said. There's like a jump, 2 times jump, a slide, a swing, etc. The camera is inverted and you can't really change it. And then with the slippy controls, it just kind of blows to try to like land well. Not that it's very challenging, but I don't know. It just isn't a game I feel like I'm going to care about, and it's not a game she's going to care about, and it's probably like a $5 game, so whatever. Alright, number 10 is My Little Pony, A Zephyr Heights Mystery from 2024. This was released on the Switch, PS4, 5, Xbox, Steam, etc. Outright Games published it, and Drakkar Studio developed. They are like the Paw Patrol and Hotel Transylvania people, so yeah, there's not much excitement here. From what I know, she said, there's like frame rate issues, loading issues, and the game is just very trite. But I'm gonna let her speak on the rest.
Honestly, this game was not what I was expecting at all. It was recommended to me by a GameStop employee after talking a little bit about my love for mystery games and my love for silly games like the Bratz game and the Barbie game. But it was really disappointing to me. The gameplay was super repetitive, and it didn't really feel like I was solving any mysteries, more than just clicking a couple of buttons that it was telling me to do. The gameplay was really long, which is good for someone who's interested, but the game wasn't keeping my attention at all. And the long repetitive gameplay style was absolutely not it for me. That, alongside the fact that it seems like my game broke, definitely made me want to get rid of it. There's supposed to be a button that you can press that'll show you where you're supposed to go for your next mission in case you forget, and every time I pressed it, no matter where I was on the map, it would always send me to something that didn't exist. I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do next. I couldn't go anywhere where I was supposed to complete anything, and it just felt pointless to keep trying.
So the other day I took the games to Disc Replay and got $200 in cash. It wasn't just my games that got me that. I had some figures to sell, a Blu-ray, some anime, stuff like that. I only got these games because I already had credit from the past, and the store gives me major deals because I actually used to work at it. So now it's time for the little haul of games I got recently, and I didn't buy this game. I got this because a friend who actually did my buy at the store sent this to the Best Buy near me and got me the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection that I really wanted as soon as I heard it was coming out. I just didn't end up wanting to spend the money for myself, so shout out to you, Marty. Thank you. Alright, the next game I actually did pay for, and it was called Our World Is Ended. This game came out in 2017, and I had always seen it on the eShop. I had no idea there was a physical edition until kind of recently, and it came into the store, and so he put it to the side for me. I am super interested in it just because it kind of reminds me of like a Steins Gate scenario mixed with maybe Eden of the East, if you know that anime. It just is like very appealing to me, and I want to make a whole video about visual novels anyhow. Now, speaking of Steins Gate, Chaos Head, Noah, and Chaos Child is a 2-pack. It also comes with a steelbook, which I'm going to show you. This game is partly related to Steins Gate. I got Steins Gate from a friend actually for Christmas recently, and I wanted to kind of get into that world because I watched the anime way back when, and I want to play the games now, so this was a nice pickup. Alright, so in a short I talked about Tsukihime, a piece of Blue Glass Moon before, and I thought it was a remake of a Wii game, but it's actually a remake of a PC game. This is a special edition I had no idea existed. I've only ever seen the PS4, like, regular standard edition. A lot of people say on Reddit and things like that the PC original and this version are so different with such different storylines and the way that they go about having rewritten it, that it's almost worth it to play both. I know nothing about it, and so that little label there that says, do not open this until you play the game, I'm actually going to stick to and not do it, so. Alright, so this is one of the only new games I've bought recently, and it's Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I'm a huge fan of the Yakuza series. I'm playing them all in order, so I started with 0 when it came out in 2019, because I used to go to this place called Fry's Electronics that's closed down now, and they had that really rare business edition of it on the PS4. So I've played Yakuza 0, 1, 2, 3, Yakuza Ishin. I have bought like every Yakuza game that has come out, the special edition. So this was no different, And I thought that the coin was going to be just like a regular standard coin, but there's no way you could wear this heavy thing on anything. But I like the acrylic stand. I kind of was hoping it was bigger, and I think that the eye patch is kind of funny, but I've really been liking the game since I played it, and I'm actually pondering making a video just all about it. Okay, so this is the cracked Nitro deck that they made for Persona 3 Portable. I don't honestly know like a ton about this Nitro deck. I've been watching a lot of videos about it since I bought it, but because it was Persona 3 Portable, I kind of needed it. The collector mentality still comes out in me sometimes, but I'm super excited to play this because I do love that like a lot of the features with the stick drift and like the input out, it's kind of almost like a pseudo dock if you buy one of those accessories of the USB to HDMI out. So that will actually make it easier for me to record gameplay footage if I want to do it in handheld so that I can see it better or whatever. Maybe the TV's being used, whatever. So that about does it for my little justification on the games I'm selling and what I'm doing with the money. But before I go, I want to shout out a small European creator who ships all over the world. They're known as WickWorld on Instagram and in their Shopify. I'm going to link to them down below, but the reason I'm doing this and talking about them is because they're doing a Persona 3 drop. So they make bootleg shirts, bootleg hoodies, all kinds of stuff, and they have so much love for what they do. You can tell in the graphics they choose. I am a huge fan of Persona 3. It's probably my favorite game of all time. I've said that a lot, and my feelings about Reload are complicated, so I'm really happy that WickWorld chose some older images to use, and I think that the two colorways for this shirt is just like gorgeous. I love the weight of the shirts that they make. I have a couple of them already myself, and then this hoodie is acid wash, which I don't usually like, but I think that this specific blue with the acid wash doesn't look too bright or like in your face. So I'm super, super excited to buy these. I'm going to be buying these myself, and I also am going to, again, link to it, and you've got 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks from the time that this video is up to go and grab this. So if you are interested, please do so. I really care about WickWorld, and I love their products. Alright, that's it. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching.